What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Derek, and in today's video we are going to talk about lag issues with the Oculus Quest 2, specifically inside of Steam VR. So I got an Oculus Quest 2. I've started using it more and more recently. As I've used it in the Oculus software, I've had zero issues. It runs just fine because it's an Oculus product. However, whenever I try to go into Steam, I kept having issues with lag, with drop frames. Basically, there's all of these different methods out there that could fix the problem. I'm not saying any of them are wrong, but what I did notice is, like, I had to scour the internet for hours to find all these different fixes that fixed it until I eventually found the one that fixed it for me. So none of these fixes are my own. I want to admit that right off the bat. They're stolen from other people. But again, I just wanted that resource where people could come and basically go through a list of all the different fixes that are kind of currently out there for this issue and see if any of them work for you. Hopefully this fixes your problem as well. So let's roll the intro and jump into it. All right, guys, so here we are on my desktop, and the first thing I want to talk about before we actually jump into some of the fixes is the fact that you're going to want to become familiar with the Oculus Debug tool. So let me show you how you get that. If you type in Oculus and you right click on your app, open file location, and then when that pops up, it's gonna kind of bring you up to another shortcut. So you have to once again right click on the Oculus and click on open file location. Now when you do that, you are now in the actual Oculus folders. What you're gonna want to do is actually go back one and click on the support folder, and then we're gonna actually want to go to the Oculus Diagnostics folder. And when we click on that, we're going to see right here, Oculus Debug Tool. And you can open it from here. You can also, pin it to your taskbar, pin it to your start menu. You can, right click, drag it over here and make a shortcut on your desktop, whatever, so that you have access to it, because this is a tool that you're going to want to become familiar with, as I said, if you're using VR, and especially, using your Oculus Quest headset, to do PC VR stuff. So once we have that, we're going to go ahead and open it up. I have it so that if you right click and go to the properties and go to advanced, I run it as an administrator. It just makes it easier for you. The first and foremost thing is right here under the HUD section, you have visible HUD and it says none. If we select the drop down box and select performance, what that's going to do is it's going to bring up a HUD inside of our VR headset that's going to give us performance metrics, including dropped frames and stuff, so that we can then see when we apply a fix if all of a sudden the dropped frames stop, and that's what's going to let us know that we resolved the issue. Otherwise, you could just go through all of these fixes, change a bunch of stuff that you don't need to change, which in essence, I know a lot of people, they'll do that. They'll go on to, Google, YouTube, do a search. They'll, find a list of 10 different fixes, or a video like this with different fixes. You'll just go through, do them all, and then launch everything and hope that it's fixed. But the problem is that can actually introduce other issues for you. So what's best to do is to have this HUD up that shows you that you're dropping frames, or show you that you're having network issues, or shows you, if your GPU is being overutilized. And then that allows you to go from there to, number one, know which of these fixes you should try. And then number two, that when you do a fix and it works, then that was the issue you were having. So you're going to want to turn that on, and then we'll jump in the VR headset and I'll show you guys what it looks like when we're inside of there. All right, guys, so here we are inside of my Oculus home, and as you can now see, because I turned on the Oculus Performance HUD, I now have this little floating box that is telling me my latency, my performance headroom, my application frames dropped, as well as my compositor frames dropped, 90 frames per second, so 90 hertz, my frame rate, as well as my performance headroom percentage over there on the right. And you can see occasionally I drop some frames, which is normal, but we're looking for when you're continually dropping frames, like when you go into Steam VR.
A few inches later.
So as you can see now, inside of Steam VR, I just have the VR room open. Look at all of the frames I am now dropping. Look at my frame rate. Not doing anything different, just loaded up Steam VR, and now I am dropping tons and tons of frames. So again, this is what we're trying to fix. It's normal to drop some frames. You don't want to be dropping this many frames. I'll show you guys at the end the fix that worked for me, but we'll go through all the different fixes. And the object again is by having this up, when we see these frames stop dropping and kind of goes back to the normal, then we'll know we figured out the problem. So with that said, let's start going through some of the issues you might be running into. Before we jump into actual, trying to adjust things with the application or settings in the application, I do think it's important to mention one thing, which is your internet connection, especially if you're like myself and you're trying to use Airlink, which is kind of, it's now out of the experimental phase of Oculus. So if you're still using an Airlink cable, a lot of these things will still work for you. But a lot of people are now using the wireless option. So I think I must at least touch on this to make sure before we continue. So with that said, what I'm talking about is making sure that you're actually connected to a good Wi-Fi signal. A lot of people don't realize this. Maybe, the Oculus Quest 2, this is your first VR headset. You're not a real technical person. You just thought it was cool. You bought it. You see there's an option to connect it to your PC wirelessly. You hit the button. You hope for the best.
We bless, no mess. Downloading now.
It's laggy as all get out. You need to make sure that you are connected to a 5 gigahertz band and not a 2.4 gigahertz band. The 2.4 gigahertz bands of your router are just not going to offer enough throughput, data throughput, to allow you to have an optimal experience. In fact, even myself, when I first bought it and had a 5 gigahertz router, I still had issues and had to upgrade to a new router, a Wi-Fi 6 router. And even though the Oculus Quest 2, Meta Quest 2 now, headset doesn't support Wi-Fi 6, by upgrading to a Wi-Fi 6 and then using the 5 gigahertz band on it, it then solved my issues with latency. And then I even took it a step further and I bought a Wi-Fi 6 PCI Express card, which is a Wi-Fi card that actually plugs into your desktop's PCI slot, which is the same slot that like a graphics card plugs into. Only you can use a smaller one. But I actually bought one of those and set up a direct connection. Instead of using that Wi-Fi card to connect to my internet, I still have a Ethernet cable plugged into my desktop, but then I use that Wi-Fi card as a mobile hotspot for my Oculus Quest 2 headset so that my Oculus Quest 2 headset is connected directly to my PC and that it is the only thing on that Wi-Fi card on that 5 gigahertz band. Because even if you have a Wi-Fi router that has a 5 gigahertz band, if you have anything else on it, like maybe you stream 4K ultra high def content on your TV, if you're doing that and it's using the 5 gigahertz band and someone's in the other room, like my family, my kids, my wife, and they're watching the TV using the 5 gigahertz band, and I'm trying to use my VR headset, wireless Airlink, it can still run into some major issues and still cause some lag and stuff. So having a dedicated 5 gigahertz band is by far the best option if you're wanting to use wireless Airlink with your Oculus Quest 2. Again, you can do that with just a router. You don't have to go the PCI Express card. You just need to make sure that you separate your 2.4 gigahertz band and your 5 gigahertz band, and that you don't connect anything else to your 5 gigahertz band, at least while you're using your Oculus Quest 2 Airlink feature. All right, so that is first and foremost. So the next thing I want to mention is we're actually going to open up the Oculus software. And when you go to the Oculus software here, you have your device under the devices on the left. And when you click on that, you have right here your graphics preferences. So now when you're using your graphic preferences, it is default at 72 hertz. And the resolution is set to, 1 times, which is at 72 hertz, 72 frames per second, 4,128 by 2096. This is the default, and this would probably work well for most people. But for some reason, this was my issue. And all I did was switch to 90 hertz, which dropped the render resolution a bit. It automatically does this. And I left it on automatic, hit OK. And that solved all the lag issues for me personally. So again, not all of these fixes are going to work for everybody, but this is the one that worked for me. I don't know why, but whenever I run 72 hertz, and if I'm only running Oculus games, 72 hertz is fine. But when I go into Steam VR and I'm running 72 hertz, I get lag, especially in games like Beat Saber. And maybe it's not even entirely lag in terms of drop frames, but I definitely notice the frame rate, the stutters in a game like Beat Saber. So the way Steam VR works, at least with the Oculus headsets, is it just takes whatever you have set inside of your actual Oculus software, device software. So if you have this set to 72 hertz, when you load up Steam VR, that's what it's going to be set to in Steam VR. So you have to change this inside of the Oculus software to 90 FPS, 120 FPS, whatever you want to do, and that does change the render resolution. So you do, the higher frame rates you go, the lower the render resolution will be for you. But adjusting that inside of the Oculus software will adjust it inside of the Steam VR software. And again, for whatever reason, adjusting this to 90 hertz, still leaving the render resolution at automatic, fix the issue for me 100%. So that is the number one thing to try. The second thing that you might want to try is back in our Oculus Debug tool. So we had the visible HUD on. What you can do is under service here, you have this toggle console window visibility. Now this specifically works well if you're if you've already upgraded to Windows 11. At the time of this video, Windows 11 has been out for a couple months, and a lot of people in Windows 11 that were having issues, this fix seems to work for them. So what you want to do is you want to toggle on console window visibility. When you do, that loads up this. And all you want to do is have this up in the background. That's it. So this is up. Now you just leave the Oculus Debug tool up. Actually, you don't even have to leave the Oculus Debug tool up. You could hit X, but and this will stay up until you reload up the Oculus Debug tool and toggle this visibility back to off. But I don't know why this works, and it does work because it has helped, again, my system as well. Because even change that 90 FPS, I still had a little bit of lag issues here or there with certain games. And running this when I'm streaming and using Live software inside of Steam to get my different camera angles and stuff, this helped with that. This further helped my situation. So just having this up in the background, it doesn't have to be on top. You can load everything else up on top of it, your Steam VR, your chat windows, whatever. But leaving this up, the visibility of it on your desktop, it works. It fixes issues for some people. Again, I don't know exactly why, but definitely something that you'll want to try out. And then when you want to turn it off, because again, if you just hit X, it won't turn this off. So you'll just want to toggle that again and turn it off. So talking about the Oculus Debug tool, the next thing you might want to try is disabling the asynchronous space warp. A lot of people have posted that this has worked for them. I think it's normally by default set to auto, at least it was for me. And disabling it may help with your situation well. This did not work for me, did not do anything for me, but again, there's enough people on the internet that says that this fixed it for them that I think it's worth mentioning. And another thing is this adaptive GPU performance scale. Turning this off has been another thing that people have mentioned has helped them as well. Another easy fix that may work for you is inside of NVIDIA GeForce experience, if you're specifically running an NVIDIA graphics card, making sure over here in your settings, if we go to general, that you have the in-game overlay turned off. For whatever reason, a lot of people have reported that the GeForce Experience overlay causes them problems when they're using Steam VR with their Oculus Quest headsets. For me, I already had the in-game overlay turned off. I didn't have an issue with it. Again, what worked for me was the previous thing I said. And also turning off the Steam overlay could work, which, if you don't know how to do that, let me show you guys how to do that. We open up Steam, go into your settings on Steam, click on the in-game tab, and then right here, enable the Steam overlay while in game. You can uncheck that, and then hit OK, and you'll be good there. So that might be something you want to try as well, is disabling both NVIDIA GeForce Experience overlay as well as Steam overlay. All right, moving on to the next one. So the next thing you might want to try is loading up your task manager in Windows and finding the process OVR server _x64.exe and raising the process priority of this specific process. So the way that you do that is you want to right click it on it under your processes, and you want to actually click go to details first. That'll load it up in the details tab over here. You can right click it again, and right here you have set priority, and it's normally set to normal like all processes are, and you can just select above normal. You don't want to really go to high or real time, as that may cause other instability issues. So just giving it a little bit more priority than the rest of the processes, that can be something as well that fixes it for you and has fixed it for a lot of other people. So the next thing, actually, I can't show you here on the computer, but it's just something I want to talk about, and that is making sure that you're using a good USB port. Now, I know, before you skip this part and go on to the next part, the next tip, hear me out. A lot of people think, oh, I got it plugged in a USB 3.0, 3.1, 3.2 port, whatever, I'm good to go. That may not be the case. If you're like me and you're a streamer, you might have cameras plugged into your system, a webcam, you might have a cam link that has a DSLR camera plugged into it. You might have both plugged in like I do. So you have all these different things plugged into your USB ports on your computer. And while you might be plugged into a USB 3.0 port, what you need to realize is that you might have load balancing issues. What exactly is load balancing? Let's say you have a row of USB ports on your computer. Well, let's say there's two USB 3.0 ports there. Those USB 3.0 ports might actually be going onto your motherboard to the same USB interface. So you have several different USB interfaces on your board. Maybe you have 3 or 4 different ones. And a lot of those USB ports tie into the same one. So you might have, 4 USB 2.0 ports that go into one. You might have 2 or 3 USB 3.0 ports that go into another. And what could happen is if you have your cameras, your Airlink cable, and all of those things plugged into the same set that are all going to the same port on your motherboard, then you could actually be exceeding the data throughput of that device on your motherboard, that USB header on your motherboard. Even though, you might be plugged into USB 3.0 and individually you might be reading, like let's say you're not streaming and you're just doing testing and you're testing the cable connection and you're showing, oh yeah, I'm getting all this data transfer rate, I'm fine. You could still be having issues. So you might still just want to try moving it to a different USB 3.0 port. And I know people that have even had issues where, they have a port that says it's VR ready. Some manufacturers now market on the actual, IO interface, that it's a VR ready port. And then they still plug it into another port and it works perfectly fine. So if you're using the Airlink cable and you're not using the wireless Airlink connection, that might be something that you want to test as well. Just putting that out there. We go to our library and we type in Steam VR. We right click on it and we go to properties, and here under the betas, you might, by default, you're going to be set to none. If you're running, Windows 11 specifically, or again, if you're just, running beta versions of maybe graphics drivers and stuff because you're a crazy person like that, or just overall, it might just work for you for whatever reason because it has the latest fixes and stuff. It's definitely worth at least trying to go to the beta build of the Steam VR. I don't know if it's helped me at all, but I can say that it hasn't caused me any issues. So it's definitely worth a try, as I do know a lot of people have said that fixed it for them. And again, a lot of people have reported success in fixing their Steam VR lag issues by upgrading to the Steam VR Beta Edition. So beta, I go back and forth. Don't even comment about it. But going to that and trying it isn't going to hurt you. Again, if you have the debug tool up, you should see if that fixes the issue for you or not right away. Now, this is going to be a weird one, but when you load up your headset, a lot of times either Oculus or Steam VR, they'll want to change your default sound settings inside of Windows. The actual, like right here, you see headphones, Oculus Virtual Audio Driver. It'll change it to that. And if it does, that can make you drop frames as well. I don't know why, but changing it from this to anything else, like for me, I use a Beacon Mix Crate. So changing it back to Beacon Mix Crate fixes it for me and has fixed it for a lot of other people. So again, same thing under the input device. It'll sometimes want to change it to the headset microphone. Change it back. You don't need it set in there in your Windows settings to that device because it'll be set to that inside of Oculus. When you load it up, let me load it back up. Under your devices, Right here, your audio will be set to your Quest 2 headphones and your Quest 2 microphone. So your sound will come through there, still no problem. Inside of the actual Windows audio settings, it does not need to be set to your headphones or your headphones for your microphone. So change that back if it gets set to those. That could solve the issue for you. I know it sounds like a weird one, but I'm telling you, I've seen the videos of YouTube where people have the Oculus Debug Tool Performance HUD up. They literally just go in here and switch this from headphones, Oculus virtual audio device to, whatever device they have. And boom, you instantly see the frames stop dropping. So definitely something to check out as well. Okay, and I'm back in my headset, but I'm actually showing you guys my desktop still for this. So the last thing that I've seen that seems to work for a lot of people is actually you have to be in Steam VR. Like, you got to have it open in order to get to these settings. But once you do and you go to your desktop, here where you have your Steam VR, little thing right here, you got the 3 lines here. If you click that, you can then click on settings. And when you click on settings, you're going to be, introduced to this Steam VR settings and a couple things in here. Again, your refresh rate and render resolution is going to match what you're having in over in Oculus, but you can still adjust custom your render resolution. So, this isn't really a fix, but just pointing out that you can try to lower the resolution and see if that works for you, to see if it is like a GPU overload issue. But that's probably not the issue you're having. If you're having lag issues inside Steam VR, as again, you've probably not been having these issues in the regular Oculus software. But anyways, just pointing that out. But one thing you can try is, for some people, they've said that lowering or turning off the Steam VR home has worked for them. And then the main thing, again, that's just something I want to point out, that may or may not work. I've just seen it a couple times. But the main thing I've seen is if you go to the video tab over here, right here where it says Advanced Super Sample Filtering, if you remember inside the Oculus Debug Tool, we turned off basically it's their version of the super sample filtering. Well, here inside of Steam, you can also flip this to off, and that can definitely solve your issue of Steam VR lag. And again, it's another issue that I've seen a lot of people that they flip this off, and that fixes the issue for them. And that's it. That is all of the solutions that I have for you that I've currently found while while scouring the internet looking for the issue for me. Like I said, what it ended up being for me was basically just running the Oculus, the console window while I'm playing games. That seemed to fix it for me. And that's it. That is the last option I have for you, turning off the super sampling inside of Steam VR. Again, you got to be in the actual headset and inside the Steam VR environment in order to get to those settings, but definitely something to try. Again, these are just all the different things that I came across while I was trying to fix the issue for me. As I said, what ended up working for me was mainly having that toggle window, the console window open while I'm in Steam VR, from the Oculus Debug Tool. But again, those are all very common issues. Those are all the issues that I saw repeatedly coming up over and over and over for how to fix Steam VR issues. And again, I just, none of these are mine. I don't take credit for any of these solutions. I didn't come up with them, but I just wished there was, that resource for me when I was trying to figure it out, where it just had kind of all these common issues listed in one video where I could just go through, try them all out. And I couldn't find that. So maybe you get through the first one fixes it for you and you're done with the video. Maybe you get through the second, the third, maybe it's the last one I just mentioned that finally fixed it for you. But hopefully one of these solves your issue. Again, don't forget, have that Oculus Debug Tool open, put it on your desktop, get used to using it. And again, make sure you turn on that visible hub, the performance HUD, so that you can see what's going on with your drop frames and stuff when you load up Steam VR. As you guys saw in mine, that as soon as I opened up Steam VR, and I purposely turned off my stuff so that it would drop those frames for you guys to show you. You see it dropping frames like that, you'll know, okay, boom, try this. Oh, it stopped. Boom, I just fixed the problem. Hope that helped you guys out. If it did, make sure you leave a like down below. Also, get subscribed to the channel. I do a lot of gaming content, streaming help videos, tutorials on different gaming tech and stuff like that, streaming tech, all of that different stuff. But gaming, streaming, that's what this channel is all about. Love your faces. Thanks for the love and support from y'all. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Until then, peace out, everybody.